Hey everybody, it's Comic Crack back with some more. Let's just jump right into it. So this is 2000 AD Presents number 13, and this had some Strontium Dog in it, which is a series I wanted to check out. Um, I had managed to find one, two, three, four. The first four issues, I believe. Oh, wait a sec. So the first Quality Comics issue, along with the 2000 AD, and then issue number 2, 3, and 4 from the Eagle Comics 4-issue Muti series. So these are the ones that I've read. I'm halfway through this one. I'm just reading it tonight, actually. This is a 48 pager, I believe. Yeah, 48 page no ads special. 48 pager as well, this one. So good bang for your buck. So the first thing I guess about this one, there's a few different stories in this issue. First one is with some art by Alan Davis, or Dave, I guess probably Davis. Harry 20 on the High Rock, and it's kind of a sci-fi prison escape. So they've escaped the rock from outer space and landed on Earth, where in, I believe, what did it say? The 90s? There was a nuclear war and there was some fallout, but apparently everything is livable again, I think. And they come across a squark, a shark slash squid or octopus. Nice little story. I don't know much about these collected editions of 2000 AD. I'm assuming that they all have multiple stories in them. I don't know if this particular character is a reoccurring one or not, but it's pretty great. And as I've said before, and I'll just say it again, I really like the coloring. I don't know if it's just how they colored it and how that color sits on these pages. I'm pretty impressed with. So that was a pretty enjoyable little story. Really easy to do with one hand here. And then next was a Dan Dare story. I had mentioned 2000 AD to my dad and Eagle Comics. He knew Eagle Comics, and he actually read Dan Dare when he was younger. Obviously, I'm assuming it was in a different form than what these are. And I guess Dan Dare is a relatively old character, which I knew this before was a relatively old character from Eagle Comics, and something that kind of just survived the test of time and got kind of upgraded. This story was okay. I didn't like this one as much. There was nothing horrible about it. It just, I don't know, it just didn't do too much for me. Again, though, the art and the coloring was pretty great. So then we get to, let me just kind of flip through this. We get to the last page of this, and I don't even know how to really form the thoughts about it. The jarring nature of this Strontium Dog story was incredible. I have said it, and I'll keep repeating myself in these videos anytime I talk about these books. I love the art in this Strontium Dog series, and there's something about the way it's represented in this one. When we kind of want to show you a couple of pages on that one, this seems kind of dirtier, rougher. Maybe the lines didn't hold as well. They seem to have bled a little bit, or however it was reproduced. But I really, really like the look, and compared to the rest of the book, it really jumps out at you. It was a pretty great story too. So Strontium Dog, they're called search destroy agents, but because they're mutants, people call them Strontium Dogs. And I guess from what I was reading, which also makes sense that it was a UK comic, Uh, Strontium is a chemical element. Um, Both strontium and strontianite are named after Strontian, a village in Scotland near which the mineral was discovered in 1790 by a guy named Adair Crawford and William Cruikshank. It's While natural strontium is stable, the synthetic strontium isotope is present wholly in radioactive fallout and has a half-life of 28.90 years. So that's where the name Strontium Dog comes from, and that was something I was not aware of. So they're on this ship going to hunt down. I guess they're kind of like these bounty hunters is really what these strontium dogs are. They do these jobs that even he himself says that humans don't want to do, but the humans look down on them and they don't even want them eating with them, so they force them to go to kind of the cargo hold to eat their dinner or whatever. The ship that they're on is overtaken by these pig type people, and the main guy is named Papa Porka, Por-Ka. So they give Strontium Dog and his associate Wolf a chance to join them and give him a chance to think about it down in the cells where they meet another little guy, Gronk. And then, of course, they escape the prison cell and take back the ship and kill this Commander Porka. And it's an entertaining story. It's really great. There's something, and this is, I think, the something that I'm missing about, say, the story from Dan Dare. This one has that sort of almost underground aesthetic to it, as far as, having these creatures be pigs and these alien races and this mutant that's a little rough around the edges. And there's just a little more meat to these stories. Look at that picture there. It's so fantastic. Absolutely love it. So that was really entertaining. And then at the end, the final story is Grant Morrison, and it's about a letter that this guy had typed up. It's a story submission for a comic company, and it gets kind of lost through space-time and travels through the universe, wreaking havoc before it finally makes its way to the desk of the comic publisher, and they reject it and return it to sender. So pretty great issue, cover to cover. The comic shop where I bought some things recently, I know had quite a few more 2000 AD presents. I may go and try to grab more of them at some point in the near future here, just to give them a chance and see what else might be contained in them. Because like I said, that first story I enjoyed. And this is also where these things get confusing a bit. On the back, there's an advertisement for Strontium Dog #1 for $1.25, and that's the cover. The Strontium Dog #1 that I have is $1.50, and that's the cover. So I'm not really sure if there was another series. Although this says, actually reading the entire cover, this does say in 1987 special. So this might be like an annual type of thing, like just a special issue #1. So not actually #1 of the series. And I guess there you go, that would make perfect sense. First thing is, as I said, the art. It's much cleaner in its printing in this one. It still has a bit of that dirty look that I like, but the line work seems to be a lot tighter in here, so I can only assume that's from the printing process. That looks like it may have also been blown up a little bit, maybe? I don't know. So I'm not sure if this is reprints and then this is stuff that was made specific for a comic book. That might be the way that it went. Either way, it's a pretty great story so far. Similar kind of thing. He's They're on their way for a mission and they get captured by this alien race who wants to use humans as soldiers, basically, to fight for them in this battle that's been going on for however many years. And yeah, it's a pretty good story so far. The artist is the same artist that did the Stainless Steel Rat series that I talked about. And I like the way he draws these spaceships. There's something about his line work on these spaceships that really appeals to me. And again, that this use of color is really beautiful. So, yeah. So far, a good read. I think it's going to be another one of those series that I really dig. So, I'm looking forward to reading more. So, let's move on to the next series. Let's have a look at another quality comics series. And now on to one that got quite a bit of attention actually when I showed the haul video. The Steel Claw. Number one in a 4-part miniseries. As amazing as the covers are, and they are really fucking incredible, the interiors aren't as exciting, and overall the story itself wasn't that spectacular. But it's a great tagline. 10 seconds ago, Louis Randall was a man. Now he's a nightmare. So we start with a little bit of kind of current time, 1986. His claw is apart from his body and floating around, and the guy that he's talking to references his dark past. So we get a flashback for the rest of this issue, and I think for the next issue, I've only read this first one, to how he came to be, and it was a science experiment gone wrong. It looks like he is dead, but for some reason the electricity that surged through him made him momentarily invisible. He's always had a steel hand, this character, this Randall character, but he discovers that with a surge of electricity, he turns invisible and immediately decides, without a moment's hesitation, to just become an evil prick. And the first thing he does, the very next page, is go to rob a bank. After a bit of problems with that, he kind of makes an escape, turns visible again, realizes that he turns visible, makes a desperate leap to electrocute himself again. Everybody thinks he's fried up into nothing, but he is invisible, and just kind of makes his escape. He decides that robbing banks isn't good enough. He's going to be basically a terrorist, and he's going to hold the city for ransom by just showing how destructive he can be. The first thing he does is knock out some pilots on a plane and radio a message saying, "This is the Steel Claw speaking. In a few minutes, this plane is going to crash. This is the extent of my power." Goes aboard a ship and does the same thing, knocks out the captain and first mate, and it's thick fog and they're heading straight for an island. They steer away at the last second, but he leaves a note saying this is the Steel Claw. He's cited by some cops, and in what's possibly the greatest panel, he zaps himself but notices that he doesn't go completely invisible. He's still sort of visible, and the cops are coming up to grab him. And the greatest panel here, sobbing with fear, Randall swung back to the pylon. And I don't know if you can make out his facial expression there, but it's a great panel. That's amazing stuff right there. Sobbing with fear. And it just kind of goes on from there, just various sort of ideas. He hops on some planes and goes to New York because he decides that the whole world should know the fear of the steel claw. And that's kind of where we end up. He gets cornered in a power station where he's going to give himself a huge surge of electricity to make himself invisible. He's by the end of the story, he needs more and more electricity to actually become invisible. And the last panel is him trapped, and they've cut the power to the power station, which I find funny. It must have been a plug outside they kicked out. And that's kind of where we leave it. So, I don't know. It didn't strike me as too much. There's something odd about the art in some places. I mean, the style itself is a pretty classic kind of style. And I noticed in the beginning of issue number 2, it does say who wrote the script, but it does mention a Sidney R. Bicknell as the character creator. So possible that this is a character that's been reintroduced. The art seems a little tighter on this next issue. Again, it's something with some of these comics, the printing from issue to issue, possibly. But I mean, this is kind of what I'm talking about with the art. It almost looks like it's a photo that's been kind of traced over and then colored, or turned into a black and white image and then placed in. There's something odd about some of it, and it comes across sometimes in the facial features and some of the vehicles as well. But it's not the whole way through, so I can't quite put my finger on what it is. But I don't know. It didn't blow me away as much as I thought it would, based purely on the cover and the fact that it's called The Steel Claw. Yeah, so if that looks interesting to you, I'd say pick it up, but I wouldn't go out of your way to hunt it down, because it's just kind of an adequate read. I mean, now that I've got the first 2, I'm going to want the next 2 just to kind of read the whole thing, but the first issue didn't grab me, that's for sure. Okay, let's move right along. And I think finally for this part of our reviews, I think this pretty much catches me up anyway. A quick couple of words about Shatter. So I've read this first special and then dug into number 1. And as much as So it's a sci-fi story. He's sort of a bounty hunter. Again, it's this bounty hunter or guy for hire. Everything is computerized. You have a special card, so you remain anonymous. And there's like a television network, basically, that talks to you about new bounties. And when you have one, you bid on it. And the winning bidder gets the contract. So of course he gets a contract, and shit turns south, and there's somebody else that wanted the contract. It's been directed sort of at him. A little Front 242 there, a little industrial music reference for you. There's for $75,000, take this rare canister of Coca-Cola syrup, pure and original. So he wants to bid on this, basically, and I think he gets a contract that will give him enough money to buy this can of syrup. And as much as I didn't mock it by any stretch, but it was sort of a half chuckle to myself about the art. I love the art in this, and that's not being sarcastic in the slightest. And again, it's not like I wasn't attracted to the art to begin with when I first picked it up. it had a pretty great feel to it, but it also seemed a little ridiculous, a comic done on a computer at this time. But it's pretty amazing, I gotta say. Yeah, there's some really, really great stuff, and total Susie and the Banshees looking type woman there. Um, I enjoyed it. I couldn't tell you too many details about it. There was just the overall feeling about it I thought was pretty great. And in kind of the first issue, we get introduced to a bunch of other characters that I'm assuming are going to be a part of Shatter's world. And believe it or not, it looks like the coloring in the art has even jumped up a notch now in this next issue. Uh, Very, very unique. I'm I'm really impressed. I'm curious how exactly it was created on the computer, how much time it took. I would love to read some info on this series. I haven't taken the time yet to do much research on any of these books I've been reading or the creators involved, uh, but I'd love to read a little more. I love that page. Is fantastic. That's I don't know. There's something very Mobius looking about that panel there with the way the car is positioned, or this flying car is positioned. One of the guys made this. It's looked as at like a clunker from everybody else, and it's kind of been his pet project. So yeah, again, it's one of those books that you're going to find pretty cheap when you do run across it. I would definitely give it a shot. Uh, as I said, so far the story itself isn't mind blowing by any stretch, but good enough that I want to keep up with it and complete the series and give it its due and sit and read the whole thing. So yeah, we'll call that good on that note. Thanks very much again for joining me. And as I read through these piles and piles of comics that I've amassed, who the hell needs new comics? Jesus, I've got decades worth of comics to read here in front of me. As I read through them, I'll probably make some videos in the future of just kind of my thoughts, and let you know what's worth picking up and let you know what's worth passing by. Out of the group of reviews today, or at this moment, or whenever you're watching this, Steel Claw, I'd say just walk on by. Unless you like the sounds of that, then obviously give it a shot, but don't let the covers fool you. Nothing that exciting. Shatter, a good read, but Strontium Dog and 2000 AD Presents, I'd say give a shot to. They were a nice surprise as well. The other thing I forgot to mention is in one of the stories, in that Dan Dare story, it was actually art by Dave Gibbons. And in the back of this particular one, we have a story with script by Alan Moore, of all people. So, yeah, some real nice Easter egg bonuses in this 2000 AD world that I'm sort of diving into. So, there we have it. There's a look at the books. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you.